Transfer portal is popping off. A lot of guys in there, a lot of guys jumping out, going to their new teams, and it's definitely not over with because as soon as the college football playoff ends, you're going to see guys jump in there as well. But for right now, Matt, I need a couple teams, or let's just start out with one, that is the transfer portal winner as of this moment.
As of this moment, I think you have to look at maybe Texas A&M, LSU. I know they've both gotten some big transfer portal additions to this point. Oh man, I don't want to jump the gun here. There's still so many guys in the portal, so many guys that haven't even gotten the portal that from some of these playoff teams that we're probably going to see. And also, I mean, one of the lose. We're going winners. We're going winners right now. Who are your winners off the top of your head?
So LSU, biggest winner to me in the portal, and they needed to be. We talked about that last week of there's going to be teams that have to do certain things they probably don't want to in the portal, things that'll make them uncomfortable because of the situation they're in. And I think LSU is a big one for that. Their recruiting class was not as good as it could have been. You lost remember, DeCorian Moore and Bryce Underwood during the summer were a part of that class. They were not part of that class anymore. Cade Phillips, the highly touted cornerback, went to Texas. So they were losing recruits, high-level recruits, left and right, like top 75 players. So they had to go in the portal. They got Michael Van Buren, who I'm a lot higher on, I guess, than most people, because when I saw 247 had him ranked as like the 80th best transfer portal guy, I was like, what in the hell are they watching? Because when I watched him Mississippi State, he was pretty damn good. And guess what? He doesn't have much to work with. He's got nice wide receivers, but he really doesn't have many running backs to work with. Their offensive line's not very good. And you got him to sit on the bench for a year behind Garrett Nussmeier. That's a win. You get Jack Pyburn from Florida, pretty good edge player. Is he a great player? No, but he's a nice rotational piece. You get Berrien Brown from Kentucky. To me, will pop off in that offense with his speed and Garrett Nussmeier's accuracy, really good. They got an interior offensive lineman from Virginia Tech, and they got a decent cornerback in Jakeem Jackson from Florida. So you got 4 of the top 80 portal players. I think LSU's done a really good job during this early time in the portal.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. And another one I like too is Auburn. Like, this is what Auburn should have done last. Like, not that. Oh shoot, I'm blanking on. I know they got the Stanford quarterback, Ashton Daniels, and who's the other one they just got out of the portal? The quarterback transfer. Oh shoot, I'm
Jackson Arnold.
And who's the other one? And Jackson Arnold. There you go. I was blanking on Jackson Arnold. This is what they should have done. Like, not that these guys are great or anything, but this is what they should have done last year. Like, I didn't understand. Like, it's a numbers game, just a volume game, right? Just someone to win this quarterback battle. Like, just the fact that they went into the season with Peyton Thorne and just accepted that, I never understood that.
No, I didn't understand it either, and I agree it is definitely a volume game when you don't know who your quarterback is. Am I cutting out?
Did you get me?
Yeah, I got you. You're cutting out a little bit, but we got you. Yeah, it's definitely a volume game. I think Auburn's done a decent job. Now, do I think either of those guys are great pickups? No. I think Jackson Arnold's fine. Ashton Daniels, I actually think, has a pretty good chance at winning that job from what I've seen, because let's face it here, Stanford doesn't have much talent anymore. That's kind of a terrible program overall ever since Jim Harbaugh and David Shaw left. So I actually think he has a better chance at Auburn than he did at Stanford, obviously, but I also think he has a better chance of beating out Jackson Arnold, because Jackson Arnold had talent at Oklahoma. Now, were the wide receivers great? No. Was the offensive line great? No, but he has more talent at Oklahoma than he did than Ashton Daniels did at Stanford. So I think he's got a shot to win the job. I don't know if I consider them a winner at this point. Another team I think is a big winner, and they always seem to be a winner in the transfer portal, is Ole Miss. Ole Miss with Princewell from Nebraska off the edge. They got Patrick Kutas from Arkansas. They're just raiding Arkansas's roster at this point, taking anyone they want from there. Luke Haas from Arkansas. They also took Deshaun Stripling from Oklahoma State. So you got 4 pretty quality players out of the portal there. A couple other guys from Arkansas as well. They're doing a really good job, and there's a chance Eric Singleton's in that running too, and he's a really big get. I know he visited Texas today. So whoever can get him, that's something going to be a win as well. And I think Texas has done a decent job as well. I wouldn't consider them a winner just yet. If they land like a Zachariah Branch or Eric Singleton, I would push them in that category. But my 2 big winners right now are LSU and Ole Miss.
Yeah, Zachariah Branch is an interesting one, and his brother, Zion Branch. Apparently they're a package deal wherever they're going. Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah, I don't know if Texas, that's the thing. They may not be in that running with Zion Branch because we have too many safeties as it is. So if they really do want to be a package deal, I don't see them going to Texas. I've seen Michigan, LSU. What else do I see? Miami, of course, they're always in it. It's going to be interesting there. Now, those are our winners. Let's talk
Georgia is in
about
that
the.
conversation.
Oh, they are?
I know Georgia is in, but at this point, Georgia just doesn't seem like the team that like gets into bidding wars for guys. Like I think that's just what I'm saying as someone who's not getting the big time guys in the portal. But like Eric Singleton was one that hit the portal. First stop is in Athens, and then a week later, like Georgia's not even on the radar. Like I think Georgia's not necessarily paying that top dollar for guys out of the portal and for guys out of high school. Kirby
Yeah, I
Smart
definitely
apparently
think that's.
said that a freshman will never be the highest paid player on Georgia's roster.
And I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think that's a pretty smart way to do things. But I mean, it's hard to, if they win the national championship again, I think it's more of an Alabama Nick Saban situation where they can take these guys on discounts because the guys are willing to come there on discounts because they know they'll just go to the NFL and win national championships. You saw that with Alabama. They were able to do that because of those two reasons. And guys would take a couple $100,000 less there than they would at other places.
Yeah, and I think that's what it takes, and I think that's what Georgia's definitely banking on is guys, take a little bit less to be in a winning situation because, and also let's not ignore the fact that Georgia is still one of the big market teams, for lack of a better term, in college football. So Georgia's obviously still paying guys what they need to be paid, but I think they just have a different approach in terms of how they acquire those guys.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go to transfer portal losers. I'll start out with this one. Number one's Oklahoma. They are being absolutely decimated by the transfer portal. As a Texas fan, it's beautiful. Breathes a little bit of a warm tingle to my heart and to my soul. It's beautiful to watch. They've lost 10 plus players. They've lost 5 wide receivers, including Nick Anderson and Brennan Thompson. Really the only guy returning healthy from that wide receiver room is Deion Burks. He decided to come back, but they have lost everyone. They don't have a quarterback as of this moment. I know John Mateer most likely ends up there. Their offensive line isn't very good because everyone that they had there either transferred out or is going to the NFL that was good. And then you still have the guys that were left over that aren't that good. You don't have any wide receivers. Bauer Sharp left to LSU. That's another one I forgot at this point to get that went to LSU. And the defense, a lot of those guys on defense are gone. Deshaun McCall also transferred out, and Danny Stutzman's going to the NFL along with Billy Bowman. So, like, what the hell is this team going to be next year? What about, are they part of your losers? Or do you have another one?
I think that's a good one. I think the first one, I think, or you got Kentucky, losing Dane Key and Barian Brown both to the portal. And Barian Brown, did he commit to Texas A&M or was he an LSU guy? He's another LSU guy. Yeah, they've been cleaning up. I feel like one thing I wonder is Penn State a loser in the portal because of losing the backup quarterback that has actually impacted their season a little bit. Was it the Wisconsin game that he came in the second half, and now this guy's not going to be on the roster for the college football playoff? Maybe we as a college football public are losers for maybe some of these guys on playoff teams hitting the portal. But yeah, I mean, it's just it's hard to say. Like Georgia Tech now, like you had Jahmyr Gibbs a couple years ago hit the portal. You had Ivy that went to Ole Miss hit the portal. Now you got Eric Singleton. Like this is several years in a row that Georgia Tech has had like one of the 5-10. I mean, Singleton's literally number 1 right now. Like one of the 5-10 best players, like actual impact players coming out of the portal. And, you're not able to keep some of that talent that you recruited out of high school.
Yeah, and sticking to the SEC, you got my other loser. I have 2 losers down in the SEC. Kentucky. You lose your top 2 wide receivers. Did Barian Brown have a down year for Kentucky? Absolutely, but he's still a really good dynamic player. Dane Key, I think underratedly had a really good year. I think he had like 800 receiving yards, and they didn't really have a very dynamic passing game. They had no real quarterback threat, and that's really good. Whoever ends up getting him, he has not committed anywhere. And then Keyshawn Silver, interior defensive lineman, he's transferred already one time. He was decent in Kentucky. He wasn't great, but someone's going to get a decent player in Keyshawn Silver, whether that's Michigan or someone else. I know that's where he's rumored to go at this point. But yeah, Kentucky, really big loser. And it's interesting because the two teams I named, Brent Venables needs a really good portal class, because if he doesn't, he's probably getting fired at the end of next year. Same with Mark Stoops. You need a good portal class because you're probably getting fired if you don't have a good year. And honestly, guys, I think these are two just broke boy programs. I'm going to straight up say it. That's what I think they are at this point. I don't think they have that type of money, or they're just not willing to invest that type of money. I don't know which one's which. Because Kentucky does invest in their basketball team. So I would be willing to say they have some money to spend towards football. Maybe they just don't want to. Whereas Oklahoma, I don't really think they spend in athletics at all. They really don't have that type of money. So it's going to be interesting how that affects them, because do they just fall out of that elite tier of college football, which they've been in for basically the past 50 years?
Yeah, because that's what it comes down to. They definitely have the money, but are they committed to spending that to compete in football? That remains to be seen. You also got USC, losing Miller Moss and Deuce Robinson, two of the higher rated guys in the portal. I guess Miller Moss lost the starting job, but I don't know that Maeva is better than Miller Moss. I don't think he's proved anything in those final couple of games. Like, did he end up at Louisville? Is that where Miller Moss, I want to say?
Yeah, he went to Louisville.
Committed. So, yeah. So, I mean, maybe that's a sleeper. Louisville's been one of the better teams in the ACC. If they get improved quarterback play, like, that could definitely go a long way for them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. There's still a lot of good players in the portal. It's going to be interesting how that all ends up. And also I'm very interested to see, as soon as those games go final, those playoff teams, how many of those guys start to transfer out. That's going to be very, very interesting. I think you're going to see a decent amount, actually, because there are, like, Texas has been semi-aggressive, but they're not as aggressive as I thought they've been so far. But it's going to be very, very interesting. And I think there's going to be a lot of good players left or going into the portal very soon, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And I didn't even name Zachariah Branch and Zion Branch and top of the guys that USC is losing. So coming off the worst season of Lincoln Riley's coaching career and now losing some of your best players in the portal, I don't know. What does Lincoln Riley do? How much longer is he in Los Angeles?
I think he's gone if they repeat what they did this year next year. I think he has to go 8-4 next year. If he's not 8-4 or better, I think he's gone.
Yeah, I could see that.
That will do it for transfer portal winners and losers. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe down below. This is the 12th edition of SEC Live.